All right, we'll see if this is any better. Oh, look, there I am. I was checking to make sure the video is doing okay. I've got YouTube also open here, and this should tell me. I mean, I still see it's laggy. My computer actually just completely froze after, but the picture looks like it's a little bit better. Do I have audio? I don't know what the F is going on today. Yeah, I have audio too. All right, so something was happening, and that's just my day. That's just my day today. Anyway, yeah, so the breaking news this afternoon is that someone said bank stocks are at a terrible whatever. What? Bank stocks are all up from where they were. Unless it all went down in the past 5 minutes. And this is all some big, massive plot to screw Steve over. Yeah, stocks aren't going down. I should have sold. I knew I should have, but I didn't. I should have. So it looks like stocks, the bank stocks are going lower. As you can see here, they're going lower. I mean, they're all still in the green compared to yesterday, but like PacWest, it opened at 515. Now it's trading at 312. So whatever. Anyway, so here's the news. Okay, this is a breaking news story right now. Second time I've talked about it because the first time we were having some internet issues. Two Russian S-22 or Su-27 aircraft conducted an unsafe and unprofessional intercept with a U.S. Air Force intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance unmanned MQ-9 aircraft that was operating within international airspace over the Black Sea today. At approximately 7:03 a.m., one of the Russian Su-27 aircraft struck the propeller of the drone, causing U.S. forces to have to bring down the drone in international waters. Several times before the collision, the Russians dumped fuel on and flew in front of the drone in a reckless, environmentally unsound, and unprofessional manner. This incident demonstrates a lack of competence in addition to being unsafe and unprofessional. The U.S. Air Force General James Heckler, who's the commander of U.S. Air Forces Europe and Africa, said our MQ-9 aircraft was conducting routine operations in international airspace when it was intercepted and hit by a Russian aircraft, resulting in a crash and a complete loss of the MQ-9. This MQ-9 is worth roughly $30 million. So just, I mean, they just caught, I mean, it's like a drop in the hat compared to the $200 billion that we've already, put into this war between Russia and Ukraine and America. Let's just be honest. We should call it Russia and the United States state of Ukraine. Because think about that. How much federal funding can anyone look this up? How much federal funding does, say, New York get from the federal government? Let me know. Jay Lancaster said we have not sent $200 billion to Ukraine. Yes, we have. And if my sound's off, I don't care. If everything is off, I don't care anymore. Someone said we have not sent $200 billion. Yeah, because what you're doing is you're echoing the leftist talking points of pretending that the presidential drawdown doesn't cost taxpayer monies. So we've sent well over $100 billion in military drawdown equipment, jets, tanks, the missile launchers, all that stuff, the arms, the vehicles, all of that. Those are, Congress doesn't have to vote on them. Those are part of the presidential drawdown. However, because they already voted on presidential drawdown a long time ago. But what that means is, what do you think happens when we take something from our military and we give old equipment to Ukraine? Guess what happens? We have to buy new ones. Costs us money. See how that works? We haven't sent jets. Yeah, they say. Well, we haven't sent jets yet. We're likely going to. Anyway, the MQ-9 aircraft was conducting routine operations in international airspace when it was hit by Russian aircraft, resulting in the crash and complete loss of the drone. He added that, in fact, this unsafe and unprofessional act by Russians nearly caused both aircraft to crash. U.S. and allied aircraft will continue to operate in international airspace, and General Heckler says we call on the Russians to conduct themselves professionally and safely. The incident follows a pattern of dangerous actions by Russian pilots while interacting with the U.S. and allied aircraft over international airspace, including over the Black Sea. These aggressive actions by Russian aircrew are dangerous and could lead to a miscalculation and unintended escalation. U.S. Air Forces Europe and Africa routinely fly through Europe over the sovereign territory and throughout international airspace in coordination with applicable host nation and international laws. In order to bolster collective European defense and security, these missions support allied, partner, and U.S. national objectives. Brenda Nice said $113 billion, not including the new money or equipment. Okay, yeah. So roughly, roundabout. Someone said New York pays $250 billion in taxes, and they get $396 billion in return. Sheesh. So you see what money are we making? Are we making any money from Ukraine? No, we're just spending taxpayer dollars over there. Stupid. And again, I'm not pro-Russia either. I'm pro-America. I believe in spending our money here, like I've said numerous times. Oh, God, what is going on? Jay Lancaster said, as long as U.S. soldier lives aren't involved, it's worth every single penny. You're out of your damn mind, okay? It's not worth it. U.S. soldier lives are dying because that money is being sent in Ukraine or spent in Ukraine. Let's make no mistake of that. How many soldiers kill themselves every single day across America? How many veterans? That money could be used here, and it should be used here. It shouldn't go overseas. And you can make the same argument of a liberal that I know and love and live with, where that liberal says, well, I'm okay with them sending it to Ukraine because you know they're not going to spend it here. Okay? This is stupid. Jay, stop. Okay? We're not going to have any of that leftist talking point in my chat, please. Okay? No leftist talking points in my chat. That money should be spent here. That money should be spent on our veterans. It pisses me off to say, oh, we don't need Americans to die over there. It's worth every penny. Americans are dying here. And even before the war with Ukraine and Russia, we didn't spend any money then. Remember the COVID bailouts? The VA asked for $50 million, or I think it was $50 million or $100 million, and they only funded them half of what the VA was asking. They don't care about our veterans. They don't care about you, Jay. They don't care about anybody else. And that's the truth. So I don't want to hear any, like this chat, like I normally say it's a safe space. If you believe sending money to Ukraine is the right thing to do, please don't watch my show anymore. Okay? Please don't watch my show anymore. Because it's not the right thing to do. That money should be used here. That money should be used here in America before anybody else. You can't use the argument, well, we're not going to spend it here, so it's better spent over there. No, it doesn't make any sense. We need politicians in D.C. that actually want to spend the money here. And that is the truth. And I'm not going to make apologies, for feeling that way. Because it's the truth. Someone said, not only is it disrespectful to our veterans, it's truly un-American to ignore and intentionally support others before them. Yes, 100%. 100%. And I'm not going to apologize for that. And I don't want people in the chat that are being like, oh, it's better that we spend the money there. Okay, Adam Kinziger. Come on, bro. That's what I'm going to call you now, Jay. Whenever I see you in the chat, I'm going to call you Adam. For Adam Kinziger. Because that's the same thing he says, too. I know damn well, just like everybody else, you know damn well that the money, even if we didn't send it to Ukraine, we wouldn't be using here. We all know that. But we need to fight and get politicians in D.C. that want to spend the money on veterans, that want to do it. If the VA says they need $100 million or $100 billion to fix the VA, give them $200 billion. That's what really should happen. If you want to fix that thing and you want to make it so just one veteran is saved by that program. Because I personally know one that wasn't and didn't get the help he needed. All right. Anyway. Sorry. But that's the truth. That's the truth. Funny Girl said, it's better if we spend our money on a $55 hoodie. Fucking right it is. Fucking right. I'm going to make a shirt that says, don't be a Jay. I swear, Jay, you're in here a lot. That comment was really off the wall. I don't have the hoodie log, but you can buy this, the Steve's Coffee Crew t-shirt. Link should be in your chat. If you want to support this channel, you want to support this show. This shit pissed me off, bro. If you can't tell, it made me mad. I got mad that he argued with the amount that I said that they sent first, but then he's like, "Oh, it's money well spent because we're saving American lives." No, we're not. Look what's happening here, and let's not even talk about the veterans. Talk about just the Americans that are being killed by fentanyl every year. Imagine spending $200 billion to fight against the fentanyl crisis in America. Holy shit! Holy shit! Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Someone said, some people just love toxic relationships and politically it shows. Yeah. At least we'd be supporting an American-owned business by buying a $55 sweatshirt. $55 sweatshirts are not that much. Go look at sweatshirts everywhere else where they're nice, they're comfortable, they're not like, shitty. They're all amazing. Someone said, I can't possibly imagine thinking of sending taxpayer money to Ukraine to fund a proxy war that's basically just money laundering for politicians. That's a good idea. Yes. In all reality, it's stupid. We are pre-positioning our own military supplies. We are pre-positioning our soon-to-be aircraft. We are pre-positioning all of our weaponry in Ukraine in order for when our ground troops do go there. Because I have no doubt in my mind that the war lobby, the people with all the money behind, are not going to stop until Americans are on the ground fighting there. I already believe Americans are on the ground fighting in Ukraine anyway. And I believe our military is there fighting on the ground. Because remember, they had that NATO officer who remembers, or not NATO officer, they had that person that was AWOL, a Navy SEAL that went AWOL from active duty as a Navy SEAL. He went AWOL in 2017, apparently, and he died fighting in Ukraine, which makes no fucking sense. Why would you go AWOL? Nothing makes any sense. And guess what? He's the only Navy SEAL that was AWOL during that time period too. Come on, get the hell out of here. He was working for the CIA, and that's what happened. Matthew Lambert made a good point here and said you can't touch a good sweatshirt for under $55. Hell yeah, that's true. I mean, those are facts. People love facts on this channel. Someone said we don't want war, much less with another. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants war. I don't want war. I don't want Russia to be fighting Ukraine. I don't want Ukrainian civilians dying. I don't want Russian civilians dying. And everyone that wants to make an argument say Russian civilians aren't dying, yes, they fucking are. They have been for years. Why do you think we had a proclamation in Congress that the money was not allowed, any money that we sent as recently as 2019 that went to Ukraine for military was not allowed to go to the Azov Battalion, Ukraine's main military wing. Why was it not allowed to go there? Because of the same allegations. They read them in Congress in 2019. The same allegations that Russia levied against Ukraine about genocide and about this and attacks on civilians, all that stuff and Nazism, same arguments were made in United States Congress in 2019 to block funding from going to the Azov Battalion in Ukraine. And that's true. That's true. Do you guys want to hear a fun story? Fun story. This just happened to me today at lunch. You guys will like this one. Or you probably won't, actually. I didn't like it that much. But you know what? I'm a boss, so I dealt with it. So I was driving home for lunch, and typically I wouldn't have gone home for lunch because, we got, microwave and all that stuff here. Well, let me fix that. And I brought lunch today, but I had to go to the post office and drop off boxes. I had to do all that good stuff, all the coffee, all the blueberry, and they love it. They're like, I gotta go buy some blueberry coffee, because I tell you what, when you open those boxes, you get smacked in the face with a blueberry cobbler coffee. Woo-hoo! It's great. Anyway, so I had to go to the post office and then the Advanced Auto to drop off the UPS order, because I'm not paying $14 for UPS to come pick it up here, and I didn't have a delivery, so they won't pick up otherwise. So I decided just to bring my lunch home. I'd let the dogs out. I'd microwave it real quick. Bada bing, and bada bing, bada boom, and I would eat it, right? So as I'm pulling up to my house after making all the stops and doing everything I got to do, I look outside and there's a truck parked in front of my house. And I was like, that's weird because that's exactly where we park our cars. And we have a basketball hoop, so they kind of parked underneath our basketball hoop, which the only way to do that is to literally pull up on the street and back all the way up to it. You can't like cut your vehicle in close enough, right? And I was like, that's kind of weird, right? And then I'm looking at it, and then I see silhouettes inside, and I'm like, oh, so the vehicle's occupied. Whatever. That's weird, but whatever. So I brought down the license plate, texted it to my wife just in case, because I don't know. Again, for anyone that doesn't know, people hate when you talk about politics. People hate when you talk about Antifa or anything like that. So I've received death threats. We've caught people at our house before, stuff like that. That's why I'm always armed. So I text the license plate to my wife, although she's working, blah, blah, blah. And then I go inside. Oh, when I exit my vehicle, I also hear that the truck is running. I'm like, that's weird. So I go inside, and then I fully expected to knock on the door or something like that. So I whatever. I let the dogs outside. I got 2 big-ass pit bulls, so I don't need to worry about anything when I'm inside because they'll rip people to shreds. And I'll be honest, for like 20 minutes, I kept checking outside, and the truck was still there. And then I noticed from inside there's a driver, the passenger, and 2 people in the back seats of the truck. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the F is going on? It was really weird. It weirded me out a little bit, right? So I switched up the holster because I had to come back to work. So I switched up. Normally I conceal carry on the waist. I switched up and used a not concealed carry holster. So that way, whoever it was, because I didn't know who it was, whoever it was would clearly know that I am armed coming out of my house, right? And so they saw that, and I got back in my car. I took a picture of their license plate because at this point, I was really weirded out. This is like 20 minutes outside of my house. I was really weirded out. Truck is running. It's all tinted up. Couldn't tell anything. I could see the silhouettes, but you couldn't see anybody inside, right? So I get in my car. I'm sitting there for a minute. I take the license plate, all that stuff. I then take my firearm off, put it in the passenger seat, and cover it. And again, I'm a concealed carry permit holder. I can do whatever I want. And then I put it out and covered it with my gym shorts, which is one of the reasons I had to go home to get gym shorts. And then I just said, fuck it, because I didn't know who it was. They're creeping me out. It's outside of my home. My dogs are there. My wife's going to be home in a couple hours. I said, screw it. And so I pull up extremely close to the truck in enough of a way they couldn't really get out without hitting my car. Roll down the window. The guy rolled down his window in the driver's seat, and I said, what are you doing? Do you need help? Actually, I forgot what I said, but I was very abrasive, and I said, essentially, what the F are you doing? And he goes, we're law enforcement. And then I look, and I see, okay, the truck is completely full of extremely kitted up law enforcement officers. They had ballistic vests, flashbangs. They had everything on them. And I'm like, oh, man. And so I'm like, all right. And they kind of smile, and they're like, all right, see ya. And so then I'm facing the wrong way, because normally when I come out, I just make a left, and then I'm out of my neighborhood. But because I kind of cut off their truck, I was already facing the wrong way, so I'd have to go through the neighborhood and come out, right? And so at that point, I was like, okay, there's cops, and I'm like, why? I forgot to mention, when I pulled up, that truck was there. I was paying a lot of attention to that truck there because, again, nobody parks there except me. It's weird. To see vehicles outside of your house, directly in front of your house, it's just odd. Even if the truck was empty and it wasn't running and there weren't people inside, I still would have been pissed, and I still would have did everything I did up until that point. But then once I saw people inside, I got more concerned, and that's why I changed the holster and that kind of stuff, right? Because changing the holster, I knew they were going to see that I was armed coming out of the house. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know who it was. I didn't know if they were going to try to I didn't know. I didn't know who they were. And it didn't look this was like a, beat up vehicle. Yeah, it wasn't beat up, but it wasn't nice. You know what I mean? It wasn't a nice vehicle. So it was definitely an undercover vehicle. So when I pulled up, I saw there were 2 ambulances further down the street in front of someone else's house, and I'm like, that's weird. But it was in the same vicinity where a couple of older people live and someone that has health problems, and there's been ambulances there before, right? So I was like, okay, whatever. So, and again, I was in my house for about 20 minutes, fully expecting I'd get a knock on the door or something, and so I stayed ready the entire time because I didn't know what the hell was going on.
right? And at no point did I think they were cops. At no point during the whole thing, right? Not inside. I thought they were people that were trying to come at me, and they were going to get it. You know what I mean? I didn't, and it's kind of awakening for that because I didn't think they were cops at all. And then, so when I leave, I kind of block him in. He's like, "We're law enforcement, okay?" I think he said something about printing. I'm guessing he was acknowledging that he saw me carrying a firearm. But again, I can open carry, plus I'm a concealed carry permit holder because I know what I did is I came out deliberately, exposing that I had the firearm, and then I pulled my sweatshirt over it. So when I came out of my door, and they were directly, next to it, so there's no way they didn't see that I was armed. And then I pulled, so after I pulled up, they said they're law enforcement, all that stuff. And then I was like, okay, I waved. I think I didn't say anything. I was still pissed off that they're outside of my house, law enforcement or not, because I have kids and shit. And they were kidded up. The one officer, he's like this. He turns to me and he's like, "We're law enforcement." But he's got like the tactical shit, flashbangs, everything with the backwards hat. So you know he's a bruh, right? With the backwards hat. Then I was like, fuck it. And I started driving. I felt better because he was a cop. So I felt a little bit better, or that they were all cops. So I started driving up the street and I'm like, that's weird. And I'm like, wait, who are they watching? And I'm like, if they're watching someone up the street, someone could just run the other way, right? So I'm like, there's got to be more cops. There has to. So as I'm driving up, I'm rolling pretty quiet, and I got my window down a little bit. Seatbelt was on, all that good stuff. And I come around the corner and boom, here's a Dodge Durango with out-of-state plates, completely packed full of these dudes. But they all smiled and waved to me because I think, and they did. I could see them through the driver's side, and the driver through the windshield, and the driver's side was cracked a little bit. But when I came around the corner, I just I waved to them, and they're all like, like they knew. I guess the other officers probably were like, "Oh yeah, some big scary guy just came up and was pissed." But yeah, so long story short, someone is about to get arrested. So I've already texted my wife and said, "Hey, there's some weird shit going on," because I really don't want any of that stuff going on in my neighborhood. And to be honest, it's not the first time. It's the first time that I've seen what I believe were federal agents on our street. But yeah, I was pretty nervous, bro. I was ready because I'll be honest, I didn't. And that's weird, right? I didn't even think that they were law enforcement. It didn't even cross my mind. And I kind of thought about that when I was driving back to the office. And I'm like, I didn't even think that they were cops at any point. Like in the 20 minutes from when I pulled up to the house to when I was letting the dogs out to when I was peeking out the window till I made the decision to change the holster to all that stuff. I didn't once think that they were cops. And it was weird. It was weird. Because you would think that would be one of the first things that you would think about. But yeah, whatever. And then I was like, oh, where are they coming for me? April, can you here? Never mind, I can do it. Let me block this person. There, you're blocked. You bot. Yeah, but it was just weird, because I didn't think anything about law enforcement there at all. And when I was driving away is when I started realizing just how much shit they had on them, and so realizing that they're not, they were definitely not local. And then when I got up to the other one and I saw it had out-of-state plates on it, I'm like, it could have been a rental, but it was just weird. It was weird to me, but I wasn't worried about getting swatted or anything. My address is flagged. So, in theory, we're not supposed to be able to get swatted. Because I don't know what they do, but our address is flagged because I do social media stuff. So I don't have to worry about that. But I really hope whatever they're doing, for one, I hope they're long gone by the time my wife and kids get home. Because I don't want a bunch of, and if you guys are watching the show, please don't be outside my house when my wife and kids get home. Please. I don't know what they are, but or why they're there, but hopefully they're not. because it's unnerving. Plus, leave your vehicle off. Like if you're doing surveillance and all that stuff, why are you leaving your car on? Because you're in a truck. We can hear the truck running, and you can see because vehicles make this big condensation mark on our street, so you can see the truck is running. Like that's how I knew it was running before I even got out of my car. You know, but whatever. Someone said my guess would be a murder suspect in your neighborhood. I don't know, because it's a small fucking town. You know, it's a small town. What about police, the like local police, and saying, hey, there's a bunch of guys that are purporting to be law enforcement sitting in vehicles fully kitted up with body armor. You know what I mean? Just in case they weren't and they were bounty hunters or something like that. Actually, I wonder, should I do that? Actually, I don't even know if they're still there. I wonder if I should have done that. Because what if they weren't and they said they were law enforcement, but they weren't actually law enforcement? You know? I don't know. That's weird. But, oh yeah, they could have been burning up with all that stuff. Pentagon briefing on the drone situation? Really? Hold on. Let me see. I'm not seeing a Pentagon briefing. Oh, is the Pentagon briefing? Oh, here it is.
It's a great case study. These are exactly the right two allies to make it real, and we look forward to working with our colleagues around the U.S. government, including the Congress, to make that a reality.
We have time for just a couple more. Joe?
Hi, thanks for doing this. Joe Gould, Defense News. Just to follow up on Jim's question, I mean, can you drill down a little bit to talk about what are the specific obstacles? Do you have a sense? I mean, after 18 months,
let me try to find one
do you have
with
a
better
sense of
audio.
what
This one's
some
really
of
bad.
You know, Joe, we've spent a lot of time over these last 18 months figuring out how we can ensure that we deliver on this historic game-changing pledge by the three heads of state. And so we've looked hard at the different changes that might need to happen, but I would say that there's probably more to be done along those lines. But I can assure you that we will do all we can to both deliver on the submarines and to deliver on the advanced capabilities piece. We are in very close consultation with our colleagues at the State Department on the ITAR piece specifically, and also with our colleagues in Congress. But on the whole, I think we've all been pleased to see robust bipartisan support for making this a reality and really recognizing the sort of generational leap that we see in this alliance.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate your time today.
So was that the whole briefing? No, everyone's staying there, so I can't imagine that's a whole briefing. All right, here's where it's going to be.
Thank you all very much. Just a few things at the top, and then I'll get right to your questions. So first of all, I would like to highlight U.S. European Command's statement released earlier today confirming that 2 Russian Su-27 aircraft conducted unsafe and unprofessional intercept with a U.S. Air Force intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance unmanned MQ-9 aircraft that was operating within international airspace over the Black Sea today. To recap, at approximately 7:03 a.m. Central European Time, one of the Russian Su-27 aircraft struck the propeller of the MQ-9, causing U.S. forces to have to bring the MQ-9 down in international waters. Several times before the collision, the Su-27s dumped fuel on and flew in front of the MQ-9 in a reckless and unprofessional manner. This incident demonstrates a lack of competence in addition to being unsafe and unprofessional. U.S. Air Forces in Europe, Air Forces Africa routinely fly aircraft throughout Europe over sovereign territory and throughout international airspace in coordination with applicable host nation and international laws. In order to bolster collective European defense and security, these missions support allied, partner, and U.S. national objectives. As the U.S. Air Forces in Europe, Air Forces Africa Commander emphasized in European Command statement, quote, U.S. and allied aircraft will continue to operate in international airspace, and we call on the Russians to conduct themselves professionally and safely. In separate news, Secretary Austin concluded a successful visit to the Middle East region last week, where he met with leaders in Jordan, Iraq, Egypt, and Israel. The week-long trip served to deepen defense partnerships and enable the exchange of views on shared regional and global security challenges. Specific topics of discussion included ongoing coalition-led defeat ISIS operations in Iraq and Syria, the concerning range of threats posed by Iran, including its destabilizing regional activities and provision of unmanned aerial systems to Russia for use in their unprovoked war against Ukraine, and implementing commitments made by Israeli and Palestinian senior officials in Aqaba, Jordan, and the importance of de-escalating violence and restoring calm in the West Bank. The Secretary also had the opportunity to talk to a number of U.S. service members currently serving in the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility and thank them and their families for their commitment to mission service and safeguarding our nation. And finally, Secretary Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, will host the 10th meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group tomorrow. The meeting will be hosted virtually here in the Pentagon and will allow for the Secretary, the Chairman, and senior defense leaders from around the world to discuss ongoing efforts to provide Ukraine with the means and resources it needs to defend itself from Russian aggression. Additional information on tomorrow's meeting will be forthcoming. And with that, I will take your questions. We'll start with the Reuters. Phil.
Has the Secretary or anyone else in the U.S. military reached out to his Russian counterpart or anyone else's counterparts from Russia? And regarding the MQ-9, what can you detail a little bit more what its mission was and where it was being piloted from?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of Secretary Austin talking to his counterpart, not at this time, to my knowledge, DoD officials have not spoken specifically to Russian authorities on this particular incident. I do know that the State Department is raising our concerns about the incident directly with the Russian government, so I'd refer you to them for details on that. In terms of the mission of the MQ-9, as I mentioned, it's an ISR platform. These aircraft have been flying over the Black Sea region for some time, to include before the current conflict started. It is an important and busy international waterway, and so it is not an uncommon mission for us to be flying in international airspace.
And was this aircraft armed?
So I'm not going to get into the specific profile of this particular aircraft. As you know, the MQ-9 does have the ability to be armed. It was, again, conducting an ISR mission in international airspace, something that we've been doing for some time. In terms of the types of techniques, and procedures that we take to protect our aircraft, I'm not going to get into the specifics. I think the key point here is that while intercepts in and of themselves are not that uncommon, the fact that this type of behavior from these Russian pilots, that is uncommon and unfortunate and unsafe. And so, again, would echo General Hecker's call on the Russians to continue to fly safely. Thank you. Liz?
Was this collision itself an accident on Russia's behalf, and is the U.S. responding as such?
We are continuing to assess exactly what happened, but I think based on the actions of the Russian pilots, it's clear that it was unsafe, unprofessional, and I think the actions speak for themselves. What we saw, again, were fighter aircraft dumping fuel in front of this UAV, and then getting so close to the aircraft that it actually damaged the propeller on the MQ-9. We assess that it likely caused some damage to the Russian aircraft as well. To our knowledge, we know that the Russian aircraft did land. I'm not going to go into where they landed. But again, it's just demonstrative of very unprofessional, unsafe airmanship on the part of these pilots.
Thank you. One more question, sorry. Will the U.S. try to recover this drone?
So I don't have anything right now to provide in terms of recovery operations. If we have any updates to provide, we'll be sure to do that. Thanks. David.
Is there video of the incident? Are you going to release the video? Where in the Black Sea did it happen? How close to Russian airspace? And did you say that this particular Reaper was unarmed?
Again, I didn't say whether it was or was not. I'm not going to get into the particular mission profile of this aircraft. It was conducting an ISR mission. In terms of the specifics, David, I'm not going to, at this point, be able to get more specific other than the Black Sea region in international airspace, well clear of any type of, it was international airspace. And then, I'm sorry, the other part of your question?
The video.
Yes, so we are going through the declassification process now, and we'll keep you updated on that front in terms of imagery associated with this incident. Travis. I'm laser focused on your question.
It's just a very quick one. You haven't said Reaper, but he said Reaper. Is it accurate to say it's MQ-9 Reaper?
I'm just going to stick with MQ-9. Yep, thanks. Joe.
Hi, thanks so much, Pat. An MQ-9 potentially contains some sensitive technology. Is the U.S. military undertaking any effort to recover the MQ-9? Is it in the waters of the Black Sea? Has Russia recovered it? Is there a U.S. naval asset in the region that could undertake that recovery? Thanks.
Yeah, so again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of what's on this particular aircraft, other than, again, it's an ISR platform. Because of the damage, we were in a position to have to essentially crash it into the Black Sea. To my knowledge, at this point in time, the Russians have not recovered that aircraft. But again, in terms of our recovery efforts, don't have any updates to provide right now. I'd refer you to Navier in terms of what assets they may have in that region. Thank you. Janie?
Thank you, General. Regarding the North Korea's submarine launch, the strategic cruise missiles recently, North Korea has announced that it is possible to mount a nuclear warhead on a strategic cruise missiles. What is the readiness of the United States against the escalate provocations such as the nuclear provocation by the North Korea?
Let me just make sure I understand. What's the readiness of the U.S. to respond to a nuclear provocation by North Korea? Well, I think we've been very clear that were North Korea to employ a nuclear weapon, it would be the end of the North Korean regime. But again, our focus continues to be on working very closely with our allies and our partners in the region to deter aggression, to preserve security and stability in the region, and that will continue to be our focus. You go to Carla.
Just a real quick clarification. What did the fighter jet, what did he strike the MQ-9 with? Was it the wing? Was it the tail?
I can't tell you specifically what portion of the aircraft, but it's the fact that it essentially ran into the MQ-9.
Okay, thank you. And then just separately on Ukraine, there's reports out there from the battlefield that the Ukrainians are running out of munitions. They're having shortages. Is that a concern for the Pentagon, and what's the Pentagon doing to alleviate that problem?
Yeah, so as we've been doing since the beginning of this campaign, we're continuing to do everything that we can to ensure that we're meeting Ukraine's needs, whether it's ammunition, whether it's air defense, armor. You've heard us talk extensively about that. Tomorrow's discussion, of course, will be another opportunity to bring the international community together to focus on Ukraine's most urgent needs, to include ammunition. And so, again, that will continue to be our focus. And you've heard Secretary Austin and others say that we're committed to making sure that they have what they need to be successful.
Is there an assessment on why they're running out of ammunition? Thanks. Is there an assessment that the Pentagon has on why they're running out of ammunition? Is it because they're just expending it too fast? Is it not making it to the battlefield in time? What's your assessment?
Yeah, really. So I'd have to refer you to the Ukrainians to talk about their specific efforts to supply their individual units. Again, we're working very closely with them and our international partners to get them what they need. And I think it's also important to kind of take a step back and look at the progress that has been made while recognizing the fact that there still is a tough fight ahead, particularly as we go into the spring and summer. And so our focus, again, is going to be working with national armaments directors, with the Ukrainians to get them the ammunition they need and get that to the frontline units as quickly as possible. Let me go back over to this side of the room. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Can you guide us through the timeline of the MQ-9 intercept? We have that the aircraft was struck at 7:03 Eastern time, but how long were the Sukhois with the aircraft beforehand? And were there any radio calls between radio communications either from the Russians or from the United States?
Yeah, so on the latter part of your question, no, none that I'm aware of. I would ask that you go back and confirm this with UCOM, but based on the information I have here, it seems like approximately 30 to 40 minutes they were flying in the vicinity of this MQ-9. And then at 7:03 is when the 7:03 a.m. Central European time is when they collided, causing it to crash. So, Qasim.
The U.S. forces has had to bring down the aircraft. Does that mean that United States piloted it to the crash site, or
Yes.
was it struck by a missile? Or
Yeah, we brought it down. Yep.
and then also, is there any U.S. naval assets currently in Black Sea?
Again, I'd have to refer you to Navier for any details on particular assets in the region. Thank you. Laura?
Can you talk a little bit more about the damage to the MQ-9? I mean, was it unflyable, and that's why you had to bring it down? And then can you say a little bit more about how often this kind of thing happens in over the Black Sea, that Russian aircraft harass U.S. drones and other aircraft?
Yeah, so I don't have any statistics in front of me in terms of intercepts, but again, as I highlighted, the fact that intercepts of aircraft are not uncommon in and of themselves. It's not obviously a daily occurrence. The vast majority of those intercepts are what we would consider safe and professional, just wanting to see what's there, right? You're flying alongside it to be able to see what's there. In this particular case, though, again, they collided with the aircraft, damaging the propeller, and essentially putting in a situation where it was unflyable and uncontrollable, so we brought it down. Thank you. Time for a few more. Go here and then to the body.
Hi, sir. Thanks. Just wanted to check, to confirm, any communication with allies such as Turkey about potential recovery of the drone, and is there any concern that Russia could provide the drone to Iran if it recovers it?
So that would be a hypothetical. Again, Russia does not have the drone, so that would be a hypothetical question. In terms of working with allies and partners, I don't have anything to announce here, but if and when we do, we'll be sure to let you know. Thank you. Go to Fadi, and then we'll come back over here to the last two. Yep.
Thank you, General. So when, I know you don't want to share lots of information, especially intelligence information, but are you able to say whether the MQ-9 was flying near Ukraine or near the Crimea Peninsula? And then I believe you said, if I heard right, that the Russians did not recover the drone. However, have you seen any effort by the Russian Navy to try to recover the drone? Thank you.
Yeah, so on your latter question there, Fadi, I'm not going to get into that. In terms of where it was flying, it was well clear of any territory in Ukraine. It was over international airspace, over international water. So, thank you. Nancy.
Thank you. During Secretary Austin's visit to Egypt, he held meetings with officials even though all press were banned from covering it. Past defense chiefs, when they've been in a similar situation, have refused to proceed. Given that the Biden administration has said that one of its key pillars in terms of foreign policy is that when presented with a choice between autocrats and democracies, that it stands with democracies, can you help us understand why the Secretary decided to proceed with those trips given the ban, and should we expect that going forward? Thank you.
Thank you. So our relationship with Egypt is obviously a very important strategic partnership. The Secretary did appreciate the opportunity to meet with his counterparts and talk about that. I will tell you, when it came to the press coverage of that portion, having looked further into it, the Egyptians lived up to what they had agreed upon. Some of the lessons learned out of that was in terms of making sure that we were on the same sheet when it came to understanding press access, and so we will continue to work that.
I'm sorry, could you clarify, the U.S. had agreed beforehand that there would be a ban of journalists?
We did not agree to a ban on journalists. We agreed to have official photographers. We did have one reporter come into one of the sessions, but then a portion that was going to be open to the press was subsequently not held, and therefore there was not an opportunity to cover that. But again, sometimes these meetings are very small. Sometimes there's not the opportunity for media to come in. But again, it's something that we've noted, and we'll continue to work closely with governments as we visit to ensure that there's press access. Thank you. Sir.
Just regarding the budget, for the last few years, the services have pursued a divest to invest strategy, and Congress hasn't necessarily bought into that. This year, the Air Force is looking to retire more than 300 aircraft, double the amount last year. Again, Congress last year didn't give that full amount. Is there a sense that things have changed on the Hill, that there's a willingness to approve greater divestment, or is this now becoming kind of a cat and mouse game of shoot with a higher number, knowing you're going to get less to try to get to where you want to be?
Well, when it comes to the Air Force budget specifically, I, of course, would refer you to them to talk in specifics, and I don't want to answer for Congress. What I will say is, having observed this process, I do think, like anything, there's a continuing dialogue in terms of what the services require to meet their mission requirements, and working closely with Congress and with the Department of Defense to identify what those offsets might be in order to ensure that we can modernize, throughout all the services. And so I think in a lot of ways, as that communication has increased, you're seeing some of the fruits of that labor. But again, I'd refer you to the Air Force for specifics on their budget. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Way announced by President Biden yesterday. This is a trilateral commitments-based phase plan for Australia to acquire conventional.
All right. I wasn't listening. I was trying to. So they were actual law enforcement outside of my home. They were law. And they are gone. All right. So, yeah, because I talked to my wife, and my wife wanted me to find out if they were actual law enforcement and not like imposters or something like that. Again, the truck that they were in was not, I mean, they were undercover. They did a good job. It was enough that it creeped me out a little bit. But, yeah, apparently whatever they were doing is done, and they're not on our street anymore, according to the unnamed person. They wouldn't tell me who. They wouldn't. Isn't that weird? They wouldn't tell me what agency it was. But they transferred me to the agency, but wouldn't tell me what agency. Whatever. Whatever's going on, they're done. Because my wife was not. She was not. When I was like, yeah, there's a truck parked directly in front of our house with 4 dudes with guns and body armor. She's like, how do you even know they're cops? I'm like, I don't know. Because they said they were cops? And they didn't shoot me when I approached them the way that I did. I can only assume, but whatever. So apparently, whatever they were doing is gone. They're gone now. But yeah, it bugged me, enough that I don't know what it was. But they weren't after me, so which is good. But they were parked in front of my house, and what's strange? Because even on the way home, I saw, tons of cops, but all the cops, they wave. They're just super nice here. But I saw a bunch of cops, but more like, what did he say during your stream? No, I mean, they didn't, if they were looking for me, I literally presented myself to them by blocking in their vehicle. So it's kind of, I made it very, very clear that I was not too happy with them being posted outside of my house. Because again, I didn't know who they were. They did not look like cops. So someone said, if they bounced right after you called, they were on you, pal. No, because they bounced a while after. So because there was the one truck that was parked directly in front of my house that had probably 3 or 4 people on it. And then all the way at the top of the hill, so which leads me to believe they were watching one of the houses on my side of the street, but up ahead, there was another Dodge Durango that was completely full of people. But they waved to me when I drove by. The first ones, they got it. Someone said maybe they're testing it for a raid. Well, now they know I'm armed. So all they have to do is just knock on the door and say they're cops. That's it. You know, we're still going to verify, but plus I have cameras that need to be charged, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing tonight, is charging the cameras. But yeah, hopefully they did make the bus, because I don't know what they're out. And like I said, at first, the dispatcher didn't know what it was, or you know, they're like, and then I said, and I don't know if they're there, and they're like, oh, let me transfer you to the agency. And then the first person hung up, and then when they went back, it was, that person was like, hello. And I said, hey, I live at this address. My wife is coming home. I want to verify that the people that were out there were law enforcement. And they're like, yep. And they're gone. So good. But isn't that weird? Someone said, my dude, you better charge those cameras. I know. I got a lot of them too, but they're all fucking dead. I'll charge them today. And I think one of the neighbors turned one of the cameras down, or it just moved because of the wind. But it's at a different angle now. I noticed that. Sounds like you have drug dealers living near you. I don't think so. I mean, these people did not look like, they didn't look like, and I'm fairly certain, like the truck had Virginia plates, but the Dodge Durango, I swear it did not have Virginia plates. I believe it had plates from out of town, out of state. But I got the plates for that one. Because, I was weirded out. I mean, wait, wouldn't you guys be? You know, it's a kind of a small town. You pull up to your house. Nobody else is there. I mean, I called the police a while ago because there was a guy that was in his car 24/7. In his car. He was in his car, sitting at, but, you know, kind of close to our house. You know, so essentially I had to pull by him. He had a direct view, straight view of our house every single day. And every day I'd pull in at night when I was doing the late shows, he'd be in his car with the lights on inside. And in the morning I'd leave, and I'm only sleeping for like 6 hours. And I'd leave and he's still in his car. So finally after like the third day, I called the cops and I'm like, listen, I work an insane amount of hours and this dude's outside of my, outside of my house. And yeah, I don't know what the deal was, but they moved him right out of there. So hopefully they got it. Someone said that it's good they're bugging your house. There's no way anybody got into those houses with the dogs. So I'm glad. Someone said, was he homeless? Oh, the guy. No, I don't think so. You know why? Because he started parking in a house that just sold he started parking in their house and sleeping in their yard. So which was on the other side. So he would have, their driveway, you couldn't access their driveway from my street. So why he was parking on my street still doesn't make any sense. But someone said, I've heard those people are marshals too. Yeah, hopefully they looked kind of like the fugitive task force that you see on TV. They were all scruffy, you know. If I was going to be reincarnated as a law enforcement, that's what I would want to do. You know what I mean? But like I said, the dude was like this. And he rolled down his blacked out window and he's all got his bulletproof vest and flashbangs and stuff, and he rolls down and I'm like, are you good? Or that's what I was like, are you good? And he's like, we're law enforcement. And I was like, okay. And just drove away, you know? But that's how it went. Someone said, not I would have done it 30 minutes ago. What, calling? I wasn't going to call. My wife is the one that wanted to call. You know what I mean? Because my wife is going home with the kids. And my wife doesn't like guns. Me, I have no problem with guns. You know, that's why I carry one everywhere I go. She, on the other hand, doesn't like guns very much. So But that's what I would do. That's what I would do if I ever joined law enforcement. I would only want to be on a SWAT team or actually, the fugitive recovery stuff, like detective work, where you get to be driving. I wouldn't do any undercover work because I'd blow my undercover, persona like immediately. As soon as someone says something stupid, I wouldn't be able to like hide it, based on who I am. But someone said we are law enforcement. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was weird too, because normally like a sheriff would have said a sheriff, and I think I would have seen the sheriff thing on his like bulletproof vest. I didn't, so that's why I figured they were feds. And when I drove up the street, I'm not saying it, but I had an inclination that they're not from around here when I saw the other unmarked vehicle all the way up the street. Do you know what I mean? But my wife she wasn't really concerned for our kids. She was concerned about all the school buses and the kids that play and whatever's going on, that it should be done. But and maybe they moved after, because maybe what happened is they're like they saw, when I got next to the truck and all that, they're like, oh, maybe we should look him up, see who he is. And then they're like, oh shit, he's a guy that talks about everything he does in his real life. And so they're probably like, oh shit, he's going to give up our location. And so they moved. And guess what? I did. I gave up their location. But most of our viewers are not local. So you don't have to worry about that. But I hope they got whoever they were gotten. Someone said, yeah, RW, I totally got you mixed up with someone. He's one of the OGs. Oh, gotcha. Russia just made a statement denying fault. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do, if anything, to be completely honest. Looking for some bad guy named... Huh? Someone said they slapped a tracker on your truck. Well, good luck, because I don't have a truck. So, no, they didn't. Anyways, if you guys want to buy this coffee bundle, you can do so. Although I don't have that many 50 caliber cans, so you may get a 30 caliber can. But you can buy that if you want. Or you can buy the Steve's Coffee Crew t-shirt that we made yesterday because one of the viewers suggested it. Very cool. We sold a bunch of these. Today's sales have been lower, so if you guys want to help out, buy some coffee. I ordered a tremendous amount of coffee, so it'd be helpful if you guys did. The Fiery But Peaceful is coming. Someone said, see the video, bad. What video? What are you talking about? Oh, but you're Joe, you're sharing videos in our chat, which I'd prefer, and I think you live stream. So you would know that sharing videos to other content when we're live isn't good. That's why we have the link, the rule that we don't allow people to share links in our chat, because we don't want people to go to different platforms. So if you would be so kind, I saw that you did it on Facebook and now you're on YouTube. If you'd be so kind as not to share links during my live stream, that'd be fine. And I'll be honest, you send links to me all the time too. I don't really see them. Your best bet would be to send them to the social@citizenstringer.com email. And because April will look at it, and if it's not if it's worthy, I'm super busy. So when you send, I think you do it a lot on Facebook, or you do my email. Unless you send it to the social one, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't read it. Actually, I think you're sending it to my personal email somehow, so I can tell you 100% I don't open any from there. But what else? I think that's it, man. I think that's it. I'm going to try to go to the gym real quick and work out for 45 minutes or more, and then go home. And, yeah. So I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate all you guys for hanging out. I'm not going to be live today again because I don't want to. But I will, however, be live tomorrow. Stock market was doing very well, but and I'm still way up. But I should have sold about 20% ago. But whatever. I'm just gonna keep on that stock for a long time. But I appreciate all you guys for watching, and I will see. There are some committee meetings. Tomorrow there's a border committee meeting at 9:15, so we may start off covering that one live. However, the Democrats have already said that they're not going to attend because they don't believe that there is anything wrong with the border, so they're just not attending any of these committee meetings, which is pretty telling that they don't care about America. But yeah, and then we'll see what other meetings and other things are going on. But I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, and I will see all of you tomorrow. I do want to remind you, however, to make the switch. Are you using American-made products in your home? Find out how you can. The only thing you got to do is go over to switchtoamerica.com or scan that QR code that's there or the link that's in your chat. Switchtoamerica.com, fill out the form, say that I'm the one that referred you, and someone will contact you, and you could take a survey and list all the products you use in your home, and they could tell you how you could replace those products with American-made, American-owned products. Go to switchtoamerica.com. I will see all of you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.